This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design, the leader in MetaQuest and VR accessories. And now you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast. The MetaQuest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever feel things could be a bit more comfortable? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and more, including my two personal favorites, the top version controller grips with added weight and an extended handle, and the Kiwi upgraded Elite strap. Let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. Don't be the guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes to prepare yourself today. After visiting the link in our show notes, make sure to use the promo code RuffTalkVR at checkout, all one word, to take full advantage of your savings. And make sure to click the link in our show notes so the podcast gets credit and you help support us. Remember, whatever you need, Kiwi has you covered. Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Coming at you with another edition of Monday Morning News. Another new week of podcasts.
Never a dull moment.
Nope. And, before we get into it, this weekend, we have PAX East coming up.
Woohoo!
It's our first convention as podcasters, so super excited for this. You know, if you're going to PAX, look out for the two guys decked out in Ruff Talk VR swag. I think we'll be the only ones there decked out in Ruff Talk VR swag.
I'm pretty confident that's the case.
But we'll have, the Ruff Talk backpack, t-shirt, all the fun stuff. So PAX East this weekend, super excited for that. And then, a little bit of news from this past week too. And then, some new games coming, game updates, all that fun stuff this week.
Mm-hmm.
So to start it off, Little Cities, a game that we reviewed previously on the podcast. They just put out a new update into their awesome VR city builder where it adds little citizens to the game.
They're making moves, man.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think we might have mentioned that when we reviewed it. I'd have to go back and listen to the review. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. If you haven't played that and listened to that review yet, that's a good time too. But I think it was even something we mentioned, like, hey, I wish that there was more like life with people in the cities.
Yeah, and they've, I guess, slowly have added little things to it, but this is a pretty good update.
Yeah, this isn't at all their first content update since the time that we reviewed it, but
no, and they got some DLC that you can buy for like the frozen lands.
Yeah, so End Dreams, always hard at work. And
Yeah,
they even were posting on their Twitter some like behind the scenes of how they pulled it off, because they were like, normally the normal method to like put citizens in the game, they were like, the headset can't handle that, having the full skeletal body and everything. So they showed you their little like workaround of how they were able to get that many citizens running on the Quest 2 headset. And then they were like, then unfortunately, we had the issue of, you only have 5 different character types and then you have 10,000 of them. How do you stop it from looking redundant? So then they showed how they created all the different varieties, and it's cool. I always love those little behind the scene looks, but adding population, visible citizens, little citizens to little cities, small things make a big difference. I'd love to see that. That's huge.
well, you got me to go back into it.
Yeah.
So
You messaged me the same day the update came out. You're like, oh, just checked it out. That was pretty freaking sweet.
yeah, I like when, I mean, sometimes games update and it's just quality of life stuff that it didn't affect you anyways. It was like, oh, you weren't one of those random people that had some bug or something. But whenever a developer does an update and you see there's some like meaningful changes that are going to like, I've never seen this before. There's some games, it's a new weapon they've introduced.
The content updates.
Just jump right to it. It's like, how can, and I just happened to be in a position where as soon as it dropped, I updated and played it. I'm like, screw this. Definitely playing it.
Well, we always love city builders. Little Cities and Cities VR came out back to back, I think like 2 weeks apart or something like that.
Yeah, it was close.
So, soft spot in our hearts for both of those games. So I say, see an update from Little Cities, got to check that out.
Yeah, I still say they crushed it.
Yeah.
I'd love to remember what we actually rated it. I'm guessing it was pretty good.
I'm guessing so too. And End Dreams is, they're coming out with Ghostbusters later this year.
Whenever we're waiting.
So, they're a publisher. They're publishing games. They make their own games. But it's cool to see, even with a big title like Ghostbusters on the way, it's not like they've said, drop everything else. Everything else is abandoned and done now. It's like their other past games are still getting the love, That's awesome to see.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to I didn't expect them to keep updating it just because of the ventures they have going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, they've got some DLC for you.
Mm-hmm. No, I thought it was done.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Like
that's a package deal. We're moving on to the next thing. So
no, and then kind of on games that have gotten updates. It's not really the news, but it's just relevant to our life right now. With us going to PAX East, you've been telling me, to kind of get that PAX East build going on. You've been doing some Les Mills.
Ah, man, I got the winter bod like I was being paid to put on weight, and that's not normal for me. So I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity to, I got to work out anyway. So it's like, why not just Les Mills it?
Mm-hmm.
But holy Moses, dude.
That game beats you.
I forgot how intense it can really be. So I went in there and my first intention was to do like, okay, I'll do all the easy ones
in
a
row.
Luck. And then,
because even the easy ones, man, they add up.
And then I'll move up to the intermediate, and then I'll move up to the high intensity.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up doing like a fairly decent low intensity, and then did the high intensity and was hating life. But here's the thing.
In a good way, though, because that game is it's intense, but it's fun. I think it's probably my favorite fitness app.
What I like about it is you really know, I mean, they're timed. So you're the one who chose the damn thing. So it's like, if you chose to work out for 27 minutes, that's on you.
And they do have some that are like that length. They're insanely long.
Yeah, but even if you do the 10, 12-minute one, what I love is like, listen, working out, might make you feel good when you're done and all that, but it can be a challenge when it's going on. But
until you enter that like flow state too. But unfortunately with this game, it's not unfortunately in a good way.
There's no flow state.
Yeah, I was going to say it's high intensity. So
yeah, the low intensity is still high intensity for a lot of people, but they just motivate the piss out of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't quit. They sit there and are constantly like, you're doing great. And then, like the little form corrections and stuff, like follow through with your punch. But when they, we always joked about the get wrecked.
Mm-hmm. That was the name of one of the exercises. Yeah. I think they changed the name of that exercise.
Get ready to get wrecked.
Yeah, they still say it plenty during the actual game.
Yeah, man. I was doing in the high intensity one. I was like, and it was funny because I wanted to like, there was only a couple of minutes left, and I'm like, I could quit, but then I'm like, who am I quitting? Mm-hmm. And they're like, you're a superhero, When they ask superheroes, what do you wear every day? We tell them this, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel great. And then they were like, let's get ready to get wrecked. Mm-hmm. And this was like real deep into it. And I'm like, oh my God.
Couple minutes left.
And they're like, this is what we mean when we say get wrecked. And I'm like, it's funny.
And then they do good with like the scores on the side too. Of other players that have played it.
Like I said, they do like if they could call your house every day and that was the first shit you heard, you're like, hello, you haven't had a cup of coffee. You're like, let's get them, up at 5 a.m. I'm sure already working up a sweat, but
no, they're great at the motivation side. I didn't even know.
God, dude, crush it.
I didn't know that Les Mills was a thing until this game came out, and we were able to interview Dan and Rachel, and we played the game so much. But even it's like a video workout company, and it seems like the whole community is very dedicated. Yeah, and in person in gyms. Yeah. But I know they do like their body
world renowned.
Yeah, they're I had never heard of them, but turns out they're pretty freaking big.
And you work out all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna actually.
Could you think you could handle a 1 hour in person Les Mills workout?
I think I could handle it, but I think it would be tiring. Yeah, like I'd be dead and sore. Like here's the thing, like I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu since I was 13. I wrestled, I stay in really good shape. I train Monday through Friday. I'm a brown belt. Like I'm not a slouch off the couch. I've competed at an extremely high level at the World Championships, placed in the top 8. And me, I'll do like 3 of these exercises, 3 or 4. I pick out like the moderate or the high intensity ones. I'm feeling it the next day.
Oh, dude, the inside of my thighs, not the outside, the inside of my thighs. And it's from all the squats. And because they show you where to put your feet. Like this is the stance you should use. And then,
which is good because you'll mix in like
Rachel was the girl.
Yep.
She'll get down in like a true horse stance and be like, this is the stance. And it's like, get the hell out. You know how hard it is to maintain that stance while doing shit?
Well, what's good is they have the instructor doing it with you. It's a little bit more motivating,
Dude, the words alone.
Yeah, no, those two are both exceptional at their
coaching
ability.
As far as motivational coaches
because it's
for
not too corny.
physical fitness, they're probably the best I've seen.
Yes, not sometimes. I'd actually say 99 times out of 100, it's like corny. Like the coaches involved in those type of scenes, it just doesn't do it for me. But those two specifically, they stuck out to me as like, no, this is actually good.
I didn't quit, and I got through them.
And I remember I was actually skeptical going into it because I was like, because they have like the MMA theme with it. You're wearing the MMA gloves. There's punches. Like you said, there's some squats, which isn't related to MMA, but they have a bunch of different strikes. And then kind of unique in this one, you're throwing these like Muay Thai knees where you grab the head, you pull down, and you knee at the same time. So I was skeptical going into it because it was like, I'm a big MMA fan. I thought it was just going to be too corny for me. And I ended up freaking loving it.
Yep. So, long story short, I'll be Les Millsing it for. Well, I started yesterday, so we'll see what happens in a week.
Yeah. The game's intense.
And
though.
I have changed diet too. I've given up my nuggies at night, my little chocolate almonds.
Well, what I hope to see from you is hopefully you're pretty like motivated with it after doing it leading into PAX. That after PAX, it's like, shit, I'll just do a couple of these a week. Why not stay with it?
That's kind of the plan.
And that's,
I got a goal, but it's going to happen quick.
There's a lot of really good fitness apps on the Quest. Like you have Supernatural. They're all good, but for me personally, Les Mills is my favorite.
Yeah, I like it because it's a lot of the, I don't know. It's again, it comes down to that motivation. If I were to do the same exact shit with bad motivation, I'd probably
different
hate
coaches.
it.
Yeah,
but I feel like there's some like the other ones are good. Shit, Beat Saber is good. I did Beat Saber yesterday too, and Ragnarok.
Yeah, that'll get your arms jelly, but
because it's St. Patty's Day.
Les Mill gets, like you said, the inside of those legs, with the squats, the knees.
Dude.
Even me, like I said, usually by the end of like a higher intensity one, my arms are just jelly as they're like, because they'll usually have you finish with like a flurry of punches, like last 10 seconds, keep going.
The one I was doing was
my arms are just jelly. I'm like, oh.
It was a 16-second run, so it would be, and she, to her benefit, it's hard to count. The speed at which we're gonna move it up now, and then
as she's breathing too,
we're gonna do 16. Start with left, right, and then she starts counting down 12, 10, 9, 8, and then it was right hook, left hook, right hook, right hook. Uppercut, squat, 16 more.
Sky punches. I hate when your arms are jelly, then they start having to do the sky punches.
Sky punches are the hardest because you lose all your blood flow. They know what they're doing. Your freaking arms in the air for 16 seconds.
And then they'll have you go from that to grabbing. I love the grab knees. You grab and you pull down.
It's my least favorite.
Because sometimes if there's any, not jank, but if there's anything that's easy to miss, it's those.
That's where pro controllers would solve that problem.
Oh, yeah.
I thought of it yesterday. I'm like, pro controllers would make Beat Saber,
anything
Ragnarok,
with fitness.
Because let's be honest, you might be swinging your arms way out, and it's like you're past that point of any tracking.
Even thrill of the fight, because you're moving your hands so fast. Anything rhythm and fitness based. Yeah, no doubt.
And to jump back, Little Cities, I did give looks like I gave a 90 to.
90. Whew. I think mine was just about the same. Yeah, we loved Cities VR and Little Cities back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so love that.
For Xbox One lovers, it's on Game Pass. Not Little Cities, but
the City Skylines.
City Skylines.
And then, of course, the PC versions and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So, man, I say it all the time. I want to see more grand strategy and strategy games in general in VR. Give me Civilization. I say it every week. Kind of another quick piece of news, and I'll kind of give a spoiler of the next couple weeks of the podcast. There's a great game studio in the VR world. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce their name right. Owlchemy. I think it's supposed to be pronounced alchemy, but it's not spell alchemy.
It's pronounced who?
Yeah, people. Yeah.
Owlchemy.
Yeah, but the makers of Job Sim, Vacation Simulator, Cosmonius High, they are very dedicated to accessibility. You can find many interviews with the developers where they're like, look, this is something we are dedicated to. And with that, Cosmonius High, one of their newest games, they just went back and added even more accessibility in. So that's just a piece of news, but now the spoiler comes. Job Simulator, Vacation Simulator, and Cosmonius High are three of the most popular games on the store, and we have never reviewed any of them.
Nope.
And Job Simulator came out in 2019 and still maintains on most popular list, on top selling list. It's got like 14K reviews. It's insanely popular. So it's ridiculous that we haven't reviewed it yet. So what we're going to spend the next weeks doing, we're going to review all of them. We're going to review Job Sim, Vacation Sim, and then Cosmonious High. And there's a chance I'm pronouncing Cosmonious High
Doesn't matter.
incorrect.
We pronounced
Worse
less
things.
worse.
Yes.
So
Dude, we called the boss of the Light Brigade Iceman. I think our listeners will have a little bit of leeway with us on that regard. I think at this point they know how we are with giving things names internally.
yeah,
So stay tuned for the next couple weeks of,
Elven tennis, bro.
yeah, let's not get into that one, But kind of on like the grim and dark news, I'll get this out of the way so then we can go back to the positive. Meta, who late last year did a layoff of 10K people. Unfortunately, the time is coming again where they're doing another layoff of 10K people. So another round of 10K layoffs.
Tech world is a constant incoming, outgoing.
Well, it ebbs and flows together. So generally when one company's hiring, one major tech company's hiring, they're all hiring. Yeah. And then unfortunately when one's doing layoffs, they're all doing layoffs. So, Meta's not the only company to do layoffs. I mean, shit, you look at Twitter's down to like 10% of the employees that it had prior. Google's done, I should say Alphabet's done layoffs. Microsoft has done layoffs. Apple's done layoffs. They're all doing layoffs. It's part of the tech world. But unfortunately, Meta's doing another round. How much this is going to affect their VR sides versus like, are these layoffs related to WhatsApp, Instagram?
Not very much.
Yeah, I got the vibe from the
They're
statement.
pretty invested in VR at this point. So,
Of course, I don't have that info internally. This is 100% speculative, but just based off of the statement, I got the vibe that, it was more of the other sides of the meta world than
it's a business. You gotta, there's people that do everything in that company. So it's not all just one-sided,
Well, it's very sad
like
when
they killed 10,000 developers. No, 10,000 coders did not just lose their...
Well, it's very sad when people lose jobs. So I'm not like saying, oh yeah, these people need to get, that's not at all what I'm saying. If we're going to look though at statements of like people like John Carmack and then the co-founder of the studio that made Onward that got bought by Meta, he recently left and echoed a very similar statement in which they're saying that it's just too big. There's too much bureaucracy. It takes too long to make changes. Things move too slow internally due to employee bloat. And it's like, this is what high executives in the company are leaving complaining about, that there's too much employee bloat and it makes things too slow and bureaucratical. It kind of makes sense that they're going to like, look, we're losing executives and founders of companies that we bought. And that's what they're complaining about. At a certain point as a company, you have to look in the mirror and go, well, that's maybe that there's some truth to that, So I do think that there is some benefit in slimming out.
That's worked for a big company would say there's 100% truth to that.
Yeah, so I do think that there's some benefit in slimming out. Now, that doesn't make it any less bad for the people that did lose their job. I'm not saying like, yeah, they deserve to lose it, anything like that. Like, no, my deepest condolences, but I don't know if this layoff is as much of a financial thing in their end as much as of like a slimming out for efficiency type thing.
No clue.
Yeah, purely speculative.
Yeah.
But I'm always, in the end, like I said, grim and dark. Unfortunate to see layoffs, but I don't know how related it is to the actual VR side of things. So in the news of new games coming, though, there's a game that we've been eyeing in development for a while, and it's finally coming out on the MetaQuest store on April 13th. The game is called Breachers. It's what looks like, man, this could be the next like big competitive multiplayer first-person shooter game.
In my head, I'll actually go out on a limb and say if it's everything that it should be, yeah, this is going to be the new go-to for a lot of people for PvP.
Which I know they've done some like betas and stuff like that. So there's people that have played it. I'll say full transparency, not because any like agreements or anything like that. I genuinely have not played this game yet. As an onlooker though, who hasn't played it, man, I'm freaking excited for April 13th.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to definitely want to get my hands on it ASAP. Because it almost looks to a sense like this looks a little too good to be true.
I think people are using like Rainbow Six comparisons of like, the big shooter that it would be comparable to.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like,
it looks freaking tight though.
yeah, it looks really fun and promising, I'll
Yeah.
say. And it looks like it's going to be a high adrenaline type situation game too. So.
Yeah. If anybody's played it and they're allowed to talk about it, feel free to hop into our Discord, which you can find the link in, and let me know if it's any good. But again, just off of like, oh man, skeptical eyes looking, it looks freaking really good. I'm excited for this one. So April 13th can't come fast enough. What's good is that gives a little bit of time to air out in between, these releases that have been
still recovering from March 9th.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
so it's like, yeah, give me a month.
Yeah, I'm still playing Barbaria and stuff. So
give me a month.
The last thing I need is a wicked popular shooter to come out and steal all my game time right now. No, I still got Vacation Simulator, Cosmonious High to play. I still got a lot of games to go through. But Breachers coming out April 13th, so stay tuned for that. There's not too much news this week. It's been a little bit of a slower week, so we just got a couple more things, but somehow I don't think that'll stop us from talking either. Kind of something that fell in between the cracks in the news last week, and it's just seemed like people are starting to pick up on it. Walkabout Mini Golf, when they announced that they have the Meow Wolf partnership, in that press announcement, it referenced that there's a Pocket iPhone edition coming soon of Walkabout Mini Golf. And it just subtly slipped in there. And now it seems like people are really starting to go, wait a second. Walkabout Mini Golf on an iPhone?
Yeah.
So when coming soon is, I don't have the actual release date. But come on, that's going to be huge. You said something off there, and it was the first thing my brain went to is like, is it going to be cross-platform? You're going to be able to play with your friends?
That would be huge. I'm thinking not, but that would be a huge game changer, I think.
Yeah, you can do cross-platform with Demio, but like, I can see like
an iPhone.
Yeah, and I'm saying, and I'm also, it's like the way you shoot shots is going to be much different solo. On the phone than in VR. It's like Demio, you're moving pieces, so it doesn't matter if the mechanics are a little bit different cross-platform.
No, it's just cool because it's just one more group that's going to be able to play some Walkabout. Whether it's going to be exactly the same, I have no idea, man.
Yeah, I have a couple.
I just know that VR is where Walkabout shines the most to me.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping. So I have a couple friends that are like on the fence about headsets, but they're not fully sold yet. But one of the games that like has their attention is Walkabout Mini Golf. And if there's an iPhone version, I could be like, yo, download this, play it, and it might. I'm thinking it could push them. Like, all right, now I definitely got to do the VR version of this.
It's possible.
Yeah, so I was definitely excited to see that. When it'll actually come out, who knows? But coming soon.
Yeah, and Walkabout's always making moves.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mighty Coconut, I should say.
Yeah, and kind of on the news of updates as well, Meta announced that in a coming software update, they're going to be getting official Unreal 5 support for developers making games.
Which is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, anybody who's watched Unreal 5 footage.
Oh, dude, it's sick.
Yeah, sick is an understatement.
Yeah, I wonder the video card you really have to max that technology out, though. It's going to be like the size of a microwave. That's some high end. When it's running like the demos they showed, we're get the hell out.
But those demos are like to show off the graphical capability maxed out. I'm sure you're able to scale back.
I'm just curious, like
quite a bit.
What would you need to like run that at max, like without melting?
Yeah,
it's like but I'm just wondering as from a PC user standpoint.
Yeah,
like, that cannot be a shoddy video to really take advantage of the. That's what always made computer gaming so difficult. Is you always want to be able to run everything at max.
Yeah, but very few percentage of users can.
Yeah, man. Even when you'd buy like a really good video card, you'd still hit a wall with something that you'd get. You'd be like, I can't run it at max, man.
And you're only at the cream of the crop for like
a week,
5 or 6 years. Yeah, I was gonna say like Joe, 3-4 years you can probably run the max settings, and then
you'll be slowly going down from ultra high to high, and then 6 years later, then you're on the medium, and
I love when I play an old game from like Steam.
oh, and you can hit ultra high,
and I run it on max settings.
Yeah.
And then I realize how unimpressive it looks by today's standards. I'm like, damn, so you're always chasing that, best graphics. And
yeah, I've been playing with some like Unity tutorials.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go through like all of their stuff, and Unity is a little bit more by default, at least in my perception, like blocky graphics, where it seems like Unreal. This is just completely somebody who's not a developer, outside perception thoughts, but it seems like Unreal tunes in a little bit more on like the high graphical side of things, whereas Unity seems more like just drag and drop. So I've always wondered how good Unreal is for developing on the Meta Quest headset specific, because it's mobile. But I mean, I know some games do it, some games we love too. I think even Puzzling Places is Unreal Engine, and it's like that doesn't seem like an Unreal Engine, so clearly my perception is not 100% accurate.
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm curious.
To me, when I see that Unreal logo and I load up something,
yeah, you get excited.
I have a higher expectation than I do when I see Unity, and I'm not knocking Unity, because Unity is like,
that's the one that I'm doing the tutorials for.
Unity's for everyone, and I'm not a programmer, so it's like someone could easily be like, "Nah, bro, you got it totally backwards." But to me, it seems like Unity's like, that's your entry level, and it's no disrespect, because it almost sounds like it, because then I'm gonna say Unreal is like that next step up from there. That just seems to give you probably need a lot more coding experience, but you can do revisions that you just can't do with Unity. But Unity is allowed. Jesus, how many indie developers can make games because of Unity?
Yeah,
it's huge.
As somebody doing the tutorials, like the tutorials are insanely well done. It's literally
they take you by the hand.
It starts with like, here's how you download the program. Now here, click it, hit run. Now hit install. You can do it, little buddy.
They have you do shit you don't even need to do. It's like I don't want to do that, but they will take you by the hand for it.
Yeah, no, so they do a great job. So I'm curious how the Unreal 5 support will actually translate into the MetaQuest headset, And I think in that they're saying like that they're also going to stop Unreal 4 support. What that means is like you could still make a game with Unreal 4 support, but as a developer, if you were to go contact the developer support, say, "Hey, I'm having an issue with Unreal 4," they'd go, "Oh, you should use Unreal 5,"
Yeah.
So
especially in that side of things, you probably want to stay with the most current.
What's the first thing that went to my brain too?
What?
That means we're all gearing up for the MetaQuest 3 coming out, because it's like, maybe Unreal 5 on the Quest 2 is a little
stretch.
But then on something that's reportedly, according to internally from Meta, which I'm still skeptical of, but twice as light and twice as high, twice as powerful. If it's twice as powerful, that's a different conversation,
Twice as light will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I got a thick neck. I don't mind the weight of the Quest 2. Light is obviously great for getting it out to the masses, so I'm in the minority when I say that. Like, it needs to get lighter to go more mainstream. I just overall get more excited about 2 times as powerful than 2 times as light.
Yeah, I'll even take a little heavier for more power.
That's what I'm saying. My neck can support it. I'm confident in my neck's ability to hold up, But I get it, lightweight, and it looks cool. Like when you can eventually get to the goggles side,
ski goggles.
Yeah, that's just, it looks freaking
Especially cool. the slick ski goggles, not the old school bricks.
And there's a balance. Like, dude, don't get me wrong. I don't want to walk around with a suitcase on my head either. But I wouldn't mind a little extra weight if it meant like extreme more powerful. But I think I'm in the minority with that.
Well, PCVR, it's like kind of the same thing, except you're not walking around with it, but it is a brick. Regardless.
Yeah, I think some PCVR headsets are much lighter than the Quest 2. The Quest 2 actually sticks. I think.
But are they plugged into a PC?
Yes.
Then there's the reason why.
At least you're not dragging. At least you're not dragging that PC around with you.
Pick up your computer and put it on your face.
But that's not what they're doing.
With a pair of sunglasses, and then you've got all that power. It's just not feasible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it just doesn't work that way.
But then you have one like which yes, it will connect to a PC as well wirelessly, but you have like big screens. New headset coming out that is lighter than an iPhone. That's insane.
I'd really like to try that.
Yeah, I love to see it. love to see it. And I love that they do like the custom fit for the face too.
Of course.
So yeah, anybody that uses VR for like media viewing as like a primary reason, I think that they should be getting like that's the headset for them, you know?
Mm.
AKA they watch a lot of VR porn, that's their headset. No, I'm just kidding. So we got, you know, just 2 more pieces of news. You know, a game that I'm so excited for. You know, it's another roguelite, but I'm kind of at the point that I'm no longer saying I don't like roguelites. Like I have a good experience with them always. A game, Ghost Signal, is coming out by, of course, Fast Travel Games, and I think that there's a co-developer on that as well. I want to give them a shout out on that. I think it's also made by Windswept Interactive. So it's
It's their theme song.
Right? It's a roguelite space game coming out pretty soon, March 23rd on the MetaQuest store. So this week.
Mm-hmm.
It's one I'm looking at with, you know, a little bit of skeptical eyes because, you know, roguelite, but I think at this point I'm pretty sold on them. And it's space, which space is either some of my favorite games or completely misses the mark on me. So I'm going into it a little skeptical, but I'm excited to see, you know, what the game has to offer on March 23rd.
It looks really fun.
It does.
So I'm down. I got no issues.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Like I said,
it
man,
looks fun.
The amount of times that I've said that I don't like roguelites or that they're not my cup of, you know, not my favorite tea.
I've never said I don't like them. I just say that not my main genre of games. But with VR, I've obviously had to.
I'm giving up on that. I still
if it was
love
flat screen just because of the 10,000 different games you can pick from. It's like I'm not hurt if there's another roguelite.
Yeah. I mean,
as long as it brings its own element. I mean, my expectations is if you're going to do one, don't do what somebody already did. Mm-hmm. Put your own spin on it. Something.
Yeah.
One thing different.
The Light Brigade was good with that in the sense of, you know, the guns in it are so well done. I think that that's really the shining thing to the Light, and the teleporting movement. I don't know, the whole aesthetics. There's
the Light Brigade. First game that I've teleported in that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Usually if there's, you know, shut that shit off, but it's like, no, that's there in that game for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Everything about that game was unique. So if a roguelite's able to do that, I'm all about it. And this one looks like that it
has my interest.
Yeah, to say the least.
I'll say that. Definitely has my interest.
The trailers, the screenshots, all looks good, graphics and stuff, but let's see when we actually hop into it. But, you know, that's one that I'm excited that we're reviewing Job Sim, Vacation Sim.
It's a day one. It's a day one own. I won't lie.
Yeah, I'm glad that we have these 3 weeks to really spend with this game once it comes out, because this looks like it could be another in-depth one, to say the least.
No, we can drag it out as long as we want to.
Yeah,
we have that authority.
That's exactly what happened with the Light Brigade. And honestly, I think we could have done another week with the Light Brigade easily.
Well, after some passionate discussions, yes. No, I mean, I guess to the diehard Light Brigade player, they would say until you've maxed out everything pretty much and you're doing the hardest levels, you don't even understand the game yet. It's like,
and I get that too. I get it.
Yeah, dude. One dude posted the footage, his freaking hand shaking, and he's saying my hand's not shaking because I shake. It's shaking because I got the adrenaline. So it's like, what happens when you're at those levels is a totally different, I guess, way of you're playing it. You know, so yeah, we could have stretched it out probably another 2 weeks.
And I think that's something we struggle a little bit with every game. Not struggle with, but it's something we debate with. Like, what's the mark where it's ready to review? You know, for us, if it's like a story-based game, beating the game is the minimum. Mm-hmm. In a roguelite where it goes endlessly, you can, you know, it's going to be fun forever. You know, what's the point that it's ready to review? And kind of where we set the line was unlocking all the classes and then feeling also comfortable with just that we've seen all there is in the game. But definitely for somebody who that's like their favorite game or something like that, they're going to be like, they didn't even scratch the surface, you know? But so I get it.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah, but nonetheless. And then back to the news of like game updates, we saw Gods of Gravity just had another update you spotted last night while we were playing.
You know, this is another one where I thought it was just going to be some sort of quality of life issue update. And no, it's like they seem to have found a really good way to get people to help promote their game. They got some sort of new
referral system
going on where you can earn stuff to, obviously you can get stuff. So right off the bat, I was like, now that's an interesting approach. Because if you're going to talk about the game anyways, might as well give you a link to try it.
Especially a free-to-play game, so it's not like you got to be like, hey, friend.
And then there's a list of other shit.
Spend $10. No, it's like, just download it and give it a try. If you already got a headset, you're probably going to like it.
It almost seemed like you might get a reward for having a good map if you make it, but I'm not 100% on that. Literally, I scrolled down the list and got all excited with those first 3 that had to do with referrals and new items that you can get.
Yeah, I remember we were playing some job sim last night, and then I hear you, we're about to wrap it up, and you go, damn, these guys know how to update. Yeah. And I go, what? And you're like, Gods of Gravity has a huge list of stuff. You're like, right when I log in, I freaking see the referral. You're like, wow.
And there's even a nice little
in the time
letter from the 3 devs.
Think of the game from the time that we reviewed it a couple months ago and interviewed them to now.
It's 2 weeks later. Yeah, 2 weeks later, it became a better game than it already was, and now it's even getting better. And
there's that God of Destruction now that wasn't there. We have the co-op campaign, the full-fledged co-op mode.
Yeah, create a map.
Oh my god,
different headgear you can have for your
the
spacey avatar.
They're pretty good with their rotating cosmetics too.
Yeah, man,
I've seen a pretty consistent.
They're some of the youngest we've ever spoken to in the industry for doing what they're doing at the level they're doing it. It's 21 years old.
Total team size of 3. 2 developers and the more like admin side of things with Steve.
The get shit done guy.
Yeah. But two core developers. The rate that they pump out updates for being 2 people.
Well, yeah, I'd say what I was going to say is being like 21 years of age, 22, whatever they might be today.
Just out of college.
It's like they're already on the list of developers that I'd be watching and potentially learning from, because it can take years to do what they accomplished and how they're doing it. And their first model had no cost. It was like they somehow survived with this free-to-play model system, and now they've obviously changed it because they're on the official store. And again, they've gone back to the drawing. What else can we do to get our game even noticed more? And it's like they're figuring out ways to do it. And did you see the video they posted with the evolution of the game?
Yeah, where it had like, oh my goodness, it was almost like a animated like it looked cartoony.
I'll tell you what, though, even
like
from the early days, and it sucks that we didn't get to take part in that.
But the core gameplay was there
from the get-go. It looked like this is a really good game.
Yeah, no, on their social media, if you get a chance to go check it out, like you just referenced, definitely, because they give like cool little, as they're doing it, they're like, this is when we added the first gods, this is when we added wormholes.
But they are a super intelligent, and I'll say probably don't even realize how aggressive they really are or could be.
Yeah, every week or two, there's a major update.
They're legit, and again, I'll put them as these. Okay. You're 21, you're 22, and this is what you decide you're going to do for a living. What are we going to see from this team 20 freaking years from now?
Yeah, Nathan, Jack, in the studio of Trask Games, in the world of VR, I can't imagine what they're going to be in 10 years.
Dude, they were doing phone apps in high school. Like not, and you see it on the interview. They're very like, hey, we're the ones you wanted to come hang out with at lunch.
And I'll also say, not that I get any impression that they're even working on another game. I mean, when we interviewed them, they have a bunch of games stored in their quiver, from when they're in high school, but it seems like their whole attention's on Gods of Gravity. But the reality is, at least from my perspective, it seems like the hardest part on getting on the store is that first time, getting that relationship with Meta.
Dude, well, they got was it Steve?
That was like his whole role on it.
Again, it's like, you look at that whole team. It's a team of 3. And they're just doing shit and making moves that, like, they're not being held back by anything.
Yeah, so they're 21 years old, and they already have the relationship of the official store.
To get on the store. Yeah. And they started on App Labs. So it's like and again, I mean, the way they talk about it in the interview is just like, look, it's not an impossible thing to do. You just
got to stay with it.
Yeah. And 21 years old, dude.
I think the lowest amount of players I've seen online since they've gone to the official store is like 500, which is still really good for a niche little strategy game like this.
Yeah.
And at times it goes much higher. I'm just saying that's the lowest I've seen it.
Yeah, they're, in my opinion, for what they're doing, they're crushing it.
Yeah.
They have nowhere to go but up. I mean, you're young. I mean, their first thing could have been an absolute failure, and it's like people would have been like, "Oh my god, but you guys are so young. You got so many years ahead of you. You're fine. You know." But you come out of the gate like this, it's like, damn, man. So I want them to continue working on Gods of Gravity, but I really want to see what they can do. You know, as the years go on, I want to see.
Yeah, when they're
more
30,
shift.
wait till
man.
9 years from now, 10
It's
years
gonna
from
be
now.
crazy. I hope we get something before 9 years.
Well, and again, I doubt this is gonna like their rate of updates is gonna slow down. They've been pretty consistent with it. Seems like every 1 to 3 weeks, there's not just a quality of life update, a content update. You know, so it's
Oh yeah, every update they've done has been something that
there's some bug
adds to the game.
fixes,
So
there's some quality of life stuff, but yeah, it's content. They're adding content, capital C.
yeah,
So
the C word.
right,
The C word in VR does not mean what it means outside of VR.
no, it's what users want is, believe it or not, this might be mind blowing. Content, yes,
Yep.
that is the number
Go
one
figure.
thing. That
But hats
users
off
want.
to them, and I continue to play it every chance I get. So if I can slink away for it, especially if games are installing, boom, I'm going to Gods of Gravity.
Now, not for nothing, you know what I have noticed, and it's kind of cool to see.
What?
Since the time that we've gotten it, the file size of the update is slowly gotten a little bit bigger. I think last night's update, when I updated, I think it said 124 megabytes for me, and I remember when it was 80 megabytes.
80, yeah,
So it's like the game's growing,
yeah.
not just in player size; it's literally growing in app size too.
Well, I'm stoked to the gills for them.
Yeah, no,
They're to be learned from.
Mhm.
And again, I'm going to emphasize that age because you just don't have the same life experience when you're that young. But again, it doesn't matter for VR because they figured it out.
and not for nothing, we need to pick from our Patreon people for games to play more, because that was a suggestion from our Patreon people, Gods of Gravity, and it was one that we were skeptical of because it was free to play. And now look, we talk about it every time they have an update. It's one of our favorite games. So
It's twice I'll eat my words and twice that I've actually given money. And Cards and Tankards was the first one.
and Cards and
Gods
of Gravity, yeah.
Yep.
And two, both great studios. So yeah, we need to pick from our Patreon people some more. Which, speaking of which, I referenced the Discord server earlier, but if you're not over there yet, you can go join the Discord by visiting the episode description. The show notes. Hey, what's this podcast about? Hit show more. You'll see our Discord link, and you can also see a link for our Patreon server where you can become a supporter of the show. Help us go full time. Help us keep the lights on. Always appreciate it. We have a couple different tiers. One that's, purely just supporting. We have one where you can get on-air shout-outs. You can get access to an exclusive Patreon supporter chat room, which is where I just referenced, like, hey, we need to pick their brains a little bit more of games to play. You can be part of those suggestions. So go check out the link there. I think that this is a good opportunity too. Why not? Why don't we give a shout-out to our Patreon supporters?
Go for it.
All right. And, this isn't all of our Patreon supporters, because we do have some people on the just supporting tier, but for the people.
Not everybody has Discord.
Yeah.
Or uses it.
Or even really wants the on-air shout-out, which you could pay for the on-air shout-out and just tell me, don't say my name, or shout out my dog, my cat, whatever, my mouse, my hamster. I don't really care. But, for the people on the shout-out Discord champion tier, we have Amelia, we have Crispy, and we have Shoes. So thank you, you three. And also, thank you to the rest of you Patreon people. It's I always love to see the support. We do some exclusive giveaways for them too. Like I said, pick their brain. So
I will say,
place
if you are new to Discord and you're like, I'll check it out, you'll
get waved to a lot.
Instantly, I already know in my head who's probably going to greet you right off the bat. And, it's just a good group. It's really cool. And any tech questions and all that seem to get answered quicker than Google, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it's something I'm really proud of, that it's not there's no toxicity at all. It's an extremely welcoming, just fun, positive community. And like you always say too, I know Discord can be like overwhelming. You kind of say like that's probably the more hardcore tech user is your words of it.
Yeah, and it reminds me of IRC back in the day.
Yeah, but if you're curious about our Discord and you just don't know Discord, like I always say too, just go jump into it. We'll help you navigate the waters, to say.
You'll get strong armed into answering a question, I'm sure. Usually starts with this, so what are you playing?
Yeah.
What are you playing?
Yep. No, but it's a really cool community. I love to see it grow.
Mm-hmm.
Another piece of updates though, we had, another game that we reviewed in the past that overall we loved, but when we reviewed it, we were like, you hit a wall with content. And if you look at, so first off, we're talking about Arcade Legend VR.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the developers, LAI Technologies or Industries or whatever, the people that make it, you go on their website and you see a huge catalog of arcade games that they own. So it's like the potential for content's there, but what was actually in the game when we reviewed it, we're like, great concept, but you hit a wall. And you spotted. You sent it to me. I saw the me getting tagged in it. You're like, yo, check this out. Arcade Legend just pumped out a decent little content update.
Yeah, and they probably more important for me is they did some work on the bowling physics.
Yeah, that was like the
was
main
really
focus of it.
That was my only jank I had in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember everything else pretty much, setting the machines and playing the machines. It all worked good, but I was a little saddened by and I thought it was maybe just me.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had
no,
some
that was
issues
something
with
that
it.
was one of our few criticisms in our review. One was hitting the wall of content, and then the other one was like,
I think I even posted in the Instagram
bowling
story, like making moves.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I mean it was a great one to fix.
So
but
the bowling's getting fixed in there.
Yeah,
So that's
in the addition to, I think, add more games to your sales floor.
mm-hmm.
And some, I won't say nothing, but I would just keep my eye open.
Well, again, you go on their website, you look at the games that they have available. You'll see all the games that are currently in the game because
you only have to assume there'll be some more variety coming.
the day that because that was my only complaint was the content wall.
Mm-hmm.
And the day that there's more of those games or all of those games, like, and it's cool to see with the bowling getting fixed, that updates are on the way. The game's not going anywhere. There's love coming to it.
This is probably one of the better examples of, like, to everyone who already bought it or is going to buy it now, or, you bought it on release day.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool because you're actually helping that development team be able to pump out more content.
Yeah, if nobody buys it, there's no more updates.
But 2 years from now, when someone goes and buys that game for the first time, it's like they're going to have no recollection, no knowledge of any struggle it took to get to this. Because think how, if they just keep adding a little here, a little there, a little here, 2 years from now, it's going to be a whole different game, dude.
And it was even something we said when we reviewed it. We're like, don't get us wrong. It was a fun game.
I still have
We enjoyed it. Yeah. It's a lot of potential.
Dude, I own video game machines. Come on, man. I go in and play them.
It's not like we gave it a bad review. It was, we love the concept.
No, we gave it an honest review.
Yeah.
It just, the wall was real. It's not like the development team didn't know that. I'm sure nobody was like, okay, we're good.
They even
call
took
it
it
a
on,
day.
They even took it on the chin. They were like, oh no, I completely understand that. And like the game's getting worked on. I think
but they're making moves, and I think again, 2 years from now, that person who's never heard of it and like, oh my God, I can own an arcade. And then they're going to be like, oh my God, there's so much where, we're watching. We're just part of that development of it.
And don't get me wrong, that's one of those that even if I don't see them post about the update, but I see, update available on my headset, I'm updating it and I'm going to go take a peek in there. I'm watching this one with heavy eyes.
Oculus tells me I have to have the updates, so it just force feeds it down my throat.
Yeah, mine's been wicked aggressive.
Like sometimes
forcing updates.
I actually liked it more when I felt like I had more control over my updates, and that way I would know, like, oh shit, Guardian's updated, which it just did the other day again. Now it's like it's 50-50. I might sign into my headset. Like this happened yesterday. I have 20 gigs left, and I'm like, how is this fucking possible? And then I looked at the list of stuff it installed on me, and I'm like, get out of here, man. Some of these I was waiting for an update for to reopen it. Now it's that's the only thing that bothers me about it. I get the concept. It's like, cool. You don't have to worry about, hey, we got you. Meta, we got you back. We'll update your shit. But I like to know sometimes, especially like an old game, and it updates. You scroll down your list of freaking 200 games. You're like, oh my God, dude, this game updated. Let's try it. Now it's like, I got to really search out sometimes. If Arcade hadn't said that they updated, which it's good they sent out a post and shit, but I might not necessarily have known.
Because it was already updated?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And this is completely off topic, so I'm sorry for changing topics.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think 256 is enough for Quest 3? Or do you think they should go 512?
I think 256 is enough for the lowest end version, and 512 would be the higher.
I think that they should have a 512 option.
Dude, and then let's say...
I would even go a terabyte.
Let's say, yeah.
I would take a terabyte at this point.
It'd be like a $700 headset, but...
Do you think your entire library fills up 500 gigabytes right now? I think mine does.
Yeah, dude. I have to literally... I'd say almost a third has to be uninstalled in order to have... And we're at the 256.
Dude, I'm so glad we got a 256 when we got
That's my other issue with the updates is like, I'm uninstalling these for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that I leave alone, I don't want updated, but I'm uninstalling stuff so I have enough room.
Because like I remember before we got our headset, we're early adapters of the Quest 2 when there was the option for a 64 gigabyte. And rest in peace to the 64 gigabyte users. Because I remember... at the time going on Reddit and like asking around and even looking at posts and people being like, dude, you don't need 256 gigabytes. Most games are a couple hundred megabytes at the most. It would take so much to even fill up 64 gigabytes. And I remember being like, I'll spend the extra 100 because 64 to 256 is such a big freaking difference.
Yeah, dude, there's like...
And I'm so glad I did because if I had a 64 gigabyte, I probably would have had to buy a new one.
So install Medal of Honor, right?
Doom, you're done.
And then install Grid Legends.
You can't have both of those with a 64 gigabyte.
Yeah, you can't. So right off the bat, it's like, you can have 100 games that are, 100 megs, but you're going to be doing a lot on install.
So I remember how vocal some of the louder voices in like the Reddit communities of VR and stuff were like, dude, you don't need 64 or you don't need 256. And boy, oh boy, were they wrong. I'm glad I listened to my gut and went 256. And with that, whatever the highest data model is, brainer. I'm going the highest one.
And one has to assume more power, more storage, the games are going to get a little bigger.
Yeah, as bad. Look, if we're seeing 50 gigabyte, 60 gigabyte games, by the end of the Quest 3 life cycle, we're going to see a 100 gigabyte game.
Look at Red Dead Redemption. On flat screen, how huge download.
We're going to see a 100 gigabyte game on the Quest 3, and that's without a doubt, in my opinion.
Better be worth it. Well, that's the thing, too. It's like you get somebody to, and I saw that go down with Grid Legends. It's like, you're asking me for this many gigs, and
I'll say so far it
better be good.
There's very few of the big gigabyte games have been justified. I think Resident Evil 4 is big gigabyte and justifies it, and that's just about the only one I can think of. I don't think Walking Dead, Saints and Sinner are particularly crazy.
No. And that was,
maybe
that
a couple gigs.
Too,
yeah, I think maybe
older.
A couple gigs, but
you look at like Medal of Honor, get the hell out.
Grid Legends too, same thing. It's like that high gig.
Contractors did it better.
Yeah,
for less gigs.
Yeah, so far the high gigabyte, data horror games.
So is it the high gigabyte or is it the studios? Because these are all coming from
EA.
Quote unquote top notch studios, but I'll say they're top notch in flat screen, but they've yet to improve themselves in VR.
Yeah, you're gonna make me sound like a broken record because I think I say this every week, but AAA flat screen different than AAA in VR. We have our AAA VR studios. They're more battle tested than the AAA studios that try to come over.
They're the ones who've been doing it from the beginning, not coming in. I mean, it's still new, so I'm not shitting on any AAA studio in the flat screen world that wants to come over to VR. But they're starting from the beginning. They're starting from the beginning. Try to make a difference. It's like but you're not the same animal you are in like Xbox or PlayStation world.
No, the experience doesn't. It's a different thing. It's like you're starting from scratch, just like the VR developers did.
But they are hogs with the gigs. They come rolling in there like it's a flat screen game. As far as size goes,
they do.
So that's what I'm saying is like if companies are going to start dropping these 100 gig beasts, there's going to be a side of people who are either going to really like or dislike this game a little because you just took 100 gigs of my hard drive. So it better be freaking good.
I know we already brought up Ghostbusters, but that's something that makes me really happy about Ghostbusters. It's like a big name game, but they went with a VR studio. Yeah. They went with End Dreams. They didn't go with like, oh, we're going to have, Respawn do it. Yeah. Like, I don't know if I would. You should probably go to the Shell Games, to Resolution, to Fun Train, to Fast Travel.
if my reputation in the industry was on the line, I'd be going to the best I could work with. You know, take all ego aside, because I'm sure some of that's why some of those studios do that. Like, we can do it.
Yeah.
Well, you did, but your end result wasn't great.
Well, and let's be real, a studio like Resolution or something, they're dedicated to VR. When they're making a VR game, it's the whole studio is VR. If a major studio is doing a VR project, it's going to be a very small, almost test project. And how much resources are they actually putting to it versus like the companies that I list as our VR AAAs?
You know what? That's as easy as look at the credits of a flat screen game, and it's as long as a movie. Look at the credits for a VR, quote unquote, AAA crossover. It's not as big.
No.
So you can see in black and white in front of you that the resources aren't the same. But some of the best games in VR right now don't have hundreds of employees either.
We just talked about it right before this. Gods of Gravity. 2 developers. Come on.
A team of 3.
A team of 3, and one guy's the business side. Very important. I'm not discrediting, but he's that's different than.
Yeah, you don't discredit the guy that
got him on the store.
Store.
Fuck no. Important. Very important. But 2 people who are working on updates, that's insane.
Yep. Who in the long run will have a better product sitting on that store than should have been a time-tested game to put on there that would work, but whatever.
That could just be part of the problem with major studios doing VR games is that they're not putting resources. They're treating it like a phone app. Like, when major studios will make like a little phone app, they're probably putting that same amount of resources thinking that, but you can't. You got to take it serious.
If you really want to make your mark in it, but it shows me that these, multi-million-dollar studios don't necessarily take it as serious as they should.
No.
And are still kind of on that side. Because let's be honest, the money's not as good. Everybody knows that. It's a tough market to...
It's also a double-edged sword in the sense that a lot of VR is word of mouth. And if you make a game that's not great, people are going to talk. And then it's not going to sell a bunch. But if you make good content, which again, we joked about it before, mind-blowing. People just want good content. But I want to see one of these AAA, quote-unquote, studios come over, put out good content, and then say that the sales aren't worth it.
It's coming in the form of Rockstar.
Yeah. I'm so excited for Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, I think they're gonna kick that door down. I agree.
It's either gonna put the biggest smile on my face or it is gonna make me
biggest frown.
Angriest son of a bitch, because it's like there's so much hype in my own head. It's like I just need it to deliver. That's all I'm asking.
That'll be the 100 gigabyte quest.
If that fails, if that should fail,
then you have no more faith for AAA studios.
Then EA, do a DBA for something else VR related before I'll bring trust. And Rockstar, the same with you. It's like,
make a dedicated VR subsidiary.
It's like don't use your name to get my attention no more, because it's not working.
That's your final straw.
That's going to be the final straw. Yep.
Yeah, but so far, like I said, say it every week, we have our VR AAA studios. More battle tested. I think that there was just one more thing to talk about. Oh no, we got 2 more, but before that. I know you wanted to give a shout out to somebody that we had on before.
Yeah,
our XVR Lounge guy.
XVR Lounge guy down in Philly was on. I guess their local Fox affiliate.
Yep,
they were in there doing a piece on his enterprise he's got going on. So it's cool to see someone who really is taking a lot of risks as far as like.
When we interviewed him, he had expansion ideas too.
Dude, you could probably open a coffee shop and it'd be a lot easier than going, I am going to try to make my mark, and in a demographic that's harder to sell to. It's like you got to give the guy props. So it's cool to see that, almost a year later, now the news is actually picking up on it, and he's a great entrepreneur.
Yeah. So I always love to see that. And now that also makes me wonder, well, like I said, awesome to see, somebody we've interviewed get some media attention like that. But we only see when VR is covered on like mainstream news, because that goes to everybody. It makes me wonder how many little local affiliates have some sort of VR segment that we just don't know because we're not seeing you.
Because our local doesn't.
Yeah, or you don't. And
it's very possible.
You can't see every local news. That's impossible. You think there's like a local news for every like 50 minutes.
Well. I think if we did, we'd see something posted about it in the form of the person who's receiving the news. I mean, we don't live in Philly, but I saw that he was because he, you would definitely post it on your side.
Yeah, but I wonder how many
I'm
of those
thinking
we
not
just
a lot.
miss.
Not a lot.
Yeah, maybe I'm optimistic in that. I don't know. I was getting more in the opposite side. I was thinking maybe that, like, maybe
I read more. This is God's honest truth. I actually read more of the technology of VR coming from other countries and being put to test than I do inside North America. It's like you would think like it's all coming from California or Texas, and it's like a lot of these other purposes for VR are being like tested in real legit environments in other countries.
I saw a video posted on Reddit. It was like cross-posted onto the Oculus Quest subreddit. And I was just so busy. I was like, I don't have time to
get into it.
Or Google if this is real. So this could have been just not even real,
Yeah.
But it was like, it was labeled Ukrainian soldiers doing some training. And a lot of them were on computers doing like computer sims. But there was one dude holding like a prop RPG, like bazooka basically, with an Oculus Quest headset, a Quest 2 headset on. And I was like, that could be legit. I just didn't have time to actually like, cross-reference the video and be like, well, because I'm always skeptical of military training videos. I'm like, why would they be releasing videos of soldiers training while there's an active war conflict? But I'm like, that's also not showing anything or revealing that I know, I don't know.
No.
So I was skeptical. I was like, maybe it was true. It'd be cool though.
Pretty sure the military uses their side of VR very, very good.
Yes,
they use them for flying. I mean, at least on the Ukrainian side, a lot of the drones they fly, or they're using VR headsets for flying them.
Yeah, the military absolutely uses VR for training. I just wasn't sure if that one specific instance was,
True.
I could see that being just something taking out of context, and being like people sending a receipt, or it could have been
no.
legit.
But the reality is, if you cut through all the bullshit, it's like, yes, militaries are using VR for training
without a doubt.
I don't want to say which country because I'll get it wrong, but they're using, and they're trying it in their courtrooms. So the jury, I mean, think of like,
God, why did I saw this article? Why do I feel like it was Israel?
No, I thought it was Sweden.
See, this is the problem. When I can almost
read too much news.
Yeah,
but yeah, they were using it in their courtroom for I think reenactments.
We need to get big enough that we have like a young Jamie or something to pull up.
It's just too much news, man.
Yeah.
On the spot fact checking would be freaking great.
Well, because there's times like we put
watch when if you're searching for it, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a bunch of different countries that do it.
I know, because I swear I just saw an article the other week too. Oh, was it Colombia?
Nope.
Well, I see Colombia.
So yeah, add another one to the list.
Makes history by joining the first ever court hearing
in the metaverse. VR. Yeah. See, that's not what I was but that's just even another look at when looking for something else.
I think this is the one that
I
think this is the one that I saw.
I could see confusing Israel for Colombia.
Yeah, that's pretty close, right?
They're neighbors, right?
Yeah. That was the best part of when you were like, I don't even want to guess which country, and I go, I'll guess a country, and I was completely freaking off.
I think the one I'm referring to is Switzerland or Sweden, something like that.
Yeah, trials in the metaverse.
So I mean, we're at the point with VR where if you can think of it, there's probably an application to put it to use. But courtrooms to me for like a jury is ideal when. When there's some, they'll use
the Swiss have done it too. They used it to view crime scenes. The whole court wasn't done in VR, but it was used specifically.
Yeah, that's the purpose. Like if you go to court, they'll show you fucking videotapes and whiteboards and all this. What if you could put the headset on? I mean, it's kind of scary. You could probably induce some PTSD in people because you're gonna watch a murder scene go down with reenactment.
Yeah, it said that. So this article is March 1st, 2023, so very new. It says that Switzerland's used the technology in 2 court cases so far to view crime scenes, to allow the jury to view the crime scene. That's actually really efficient. They said the first scene, man, imagine being a jury and you get it could be
That's
a little
what I was
trauma.
talking about. You get the PTSD.
Dude,
you're going to see shit and feel immersed into it. Watch somebody get hacked up.
Because look, it goes, the first, now closed, involved a Swiss man who murdered his wife in the bathroom at home. The perpetrator, who died some months ago while serving his prison sentence, had first attempted to murder his wife several years earlier in, I'm not going to pronounce the city name, by crushing her against a wall while with his car as she came out of the house. Why is she still with him?
She loved him.
He tried to hit her with a car?
They
That
loved each
was
other.
extreme. Okay, holy moly.
But the point being,
attention-
aside from the fact that the guy killed his wife, it's just another great example of VR being used. I mean, nothing's going to sell to what?
I think they used the VR not to show the murder scene in that one, but to show a reconstruction of him trying to hit her with the car.
Oh, that's even better.
So yeah, they use
what's worse, watching someone get crushed by a car or get murdered?
Oh, I
Either
would say
way,
the
it's
murder
worth it.
scene would probably be more horrific to put on with a VR head. Dude, like, that's freaking blood. Look, her fingerprints right there, dude. She tried to that'd be.
It opens up a whole new door of you know, it's a tough sell when you're on a jury and you feel like you're there watching it. You know, it's going to be a little tough to ignore. But hats off to him for trying.
Yeah, no, this seems like that there's very good use case in this one. I'm a little skeptical of like the whole court being done.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, listen, that's great if it's a situation where, okay, look at Colombia. Maybe they can't get everybody into the courtroom in that area.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to run your small city or whatever, and that's the only way. I don't know how everybody has fucking VR headsets kicking around, but you can't make it to court. But in that sense, you know, that's fine.
Yeah, I should probably look at that one a little bit. The first ever court hearing in the metaverse in February 24th.
And it could have just been an experiment, nothing more. But it just shows you again the potential. Imagine if you could have an attorney who doesn't have to come into the state. He can just put on his little fancy avatar walking around the courtroom, pleading your case for you.
Okay, it was a case against the Colombian Ministry of Defense and National Police. It sounds like it was a little bit some internal things. Okay, I guess that's a little bit more reasonable than like a criminal defense. I'd be a little pissed if I had to go defend myself. I was getting falsely accused of something and they expected me to frickin' do this like with a metaverse avatar. I'd rather be there in person.
What if you don't even have to bring prisoners to court? Just put a headset on them.
Yeah, that's true.
Then they do the photorealistic. You know, you can't have the cleaned up avatar. You know, it's got to really be you. Nah, dude, the potential is endless.
It was hosted in Horizon Workrooms.
If you can think of it, you can probably pull off an application for it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So on another day, we can get into how many countries if you want.
Yeah. So far, we found 2.
Yeah, like I said.
I think I had seen the Colombia one. I didn't see the Swiss one yet. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's freaking, I'm like mind blown about that one.
Nope, that one, like, a big light bulb went off in my head. Both for good and bad.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That was, the Swiss one was 2 weeks ago, and the Colombia article was also 2 weeks ago. How weird is that? In the same week, both of those came out.
Coincidence,
if you ask me.
Coinciding?
No. Wow. Yeah. No. Cool stuff. So yeah, just one last thing to go over, and then we'll wrap this baby up now. A game that's coming out soon that we've had the option to
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I wish.
You got
right?
a Grand Theft Auto date for me?
If Grand Theft Auto is coming out soon and we have some early peeks at it, I will wet myself in excitement. So not this one, but a game called Toy Monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got an early peek at it. It's coming out at the end of this month.
I love it, man.
Yeah, it's pretty much Plants vs. Zombies.
Yeah, like one of the older versions where the zombies would just come, whatever's coming from, it's not going to cut right and left. It's just going to come walking straight down. But I like it because they always have that like tower defense type feel to them because you're putting weapons and shit. But the closest thing I found to it is probably Plants vs. Zombies. So already I liked it. But this, I love it. It's cute.
Yeah. So huge shout out to.
They do a good job with the seeing your home environment. And they're even kind enough to give the ability. You can easily uncheck it, but like they got their own wall and couch and desk and shit set up, and you can barely kind of see in your pass through. So for a second, you think your house is a lot cleaner than it really is. But yeah, I definitely. I mean, we can get into it some other day, but
yeah, I think
right now it's a fun little go-to.
Yeah, if you like Plants vs. Zombies, you've been looking for a little VR version of it, that's probably it,
Yeah, it's definitely not Plants vs. Zombies as far as like what you're fighting, but
no, but if you can see the inspiration.
Yeah, I'd do it 1,000,000%.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that maybe I'm off base on that, but me personally, yeah, that was the first thing that jumped to mind. I'm like, oh, I'm familiar with this style of how to play, so it wasn't like a huge learning curve.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for it. We'll talk about it more when the game's fully out at the end of March. That way, people can actually, go enjoy it themselves after we talk about it. But just as a little sneak peek, man, that's one of those little like hidden little indie game gems.
Oh yeah.
So that's gonna be a fun one. So I think that just about wraps it up for this week. Like I said, we got PAX at the end of the week. So if
we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, on the chance that you're swinging to the Boston area,
Boston,
come say hi to us. Other than that, stay tuned for our job sim review on Wednesday.
Okay, human.
Yeah, yeah, dude, I love the vibe of that game. And
Good job as office worker.
And then we'll be back with you Wednesday. All right, ciao, ciao.
Take care.